Good evening. I apologize. It's just as I was um, logging out, someone wanted to join the panel, so I'm going to give that person an opportunity. So what I'm going to do is drop the link. Okay, the link is there. So as I stated before, we'll be discussing how to prevent caution fatigue. Just give me a moment. Let me just mute myself. Okay. Now, as I stated previously, we're going to be dealing with caution fatigue, and let me just okay. So what we're going to do is I'm going to post the video. Just give me a moment. Okay. Okay. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share an article. Okay. Now, before I let the guest in, I just want to say the views of the guest may not necessarily be the views of the host. Any attempt to share, to copy the material without the consent of the host or the channel is prohibited. By appearing on the show, you waive your rights to your images. The views of the guest may or may not offend other people. If you don't like the content, you may block the channel. Good evening, Joaquin.
Good evening, my YouTube dad, Jose. What's going on?
How you doing? How you doing? It seems like every time I go on live, someone else has another stream. So it's just one of those things.
Oh yes, definitely, definitely.
Yeah. So the topic for tonight is caution fatigue. I'm just going to share an article. Just give me a moment. Oops. Okay, now this article is kind of dated a little bit, but it does contain a lot of information that's current. And the article is "How to Fight Coronavirus Caution Fatigue." As the weather turns colder and the coronavirus causes surge once more, with no end in sight, it's understandable that even with the best intentions, personal social distancing and safety practices have started to slip a little bit. Maybe you find yourself standing next to a family and friends at distances closer than 6 feet. Perhaps you've gotten a bit more relaxed about properly wearing your mask or washing and sanitizing your hands regularly. After all, it's been this long and you stay healthy so far, right? It's totally understandable that these skills have slacked off a bit. It feels like it's been forever since all of this have started, and we all just want it to be over. The days are all blurred together. Time has no meaning, and it'll be great if we can just hug our friends again. It's a long haul fight, and just like someone running a marathon with no training, it's easy to lose steam well before the finish line. Now we're going to get into why our defenses slip. The first thing you should know that gradually relaxing your social distancing practices is a very human thing to do, especially over a long period of time. So don't be hard on yourself if you slip up. At first, we experience this heightened sense of stress, Dr. Abers said. And when we feel stress, our bodies get pumped up full of cortisol and we become hyper alert. We can feel it in our bodies that we are in fight or flight state. Over time, though, we adjust to that constant threat. She says we get things done, and that's when the stress level dips. We either become habituated to that level of stress, or the stress level goes down to a little bit. And even if we are in danger out in the world, we're not facing an immediate danger. And that allows us to let our guard down naturally over time, even if so we are barely aware of it. It may also explain why so much of the country didn't seem to react to the summer wave of cases like they did in the first initial wave in March or April. Now just scroll down. Okay. One of the best ways to fight this fatigue, according to Dr. Absers, is to take all the steps you've done in the past and maintain your safety and make them routine. When you have routines, you don't think about them very much, she says. It's kind of like brushing your teeth in that you don't have to remind yourself to do it every day, you just do it. For instance, since washing your hands is such a big part of proper hygiene in the coronavirus prevention, go straight to the sink to wash your hands every time you come home. Okay. Forgetting a mask when you leave the house, try keeping clean masks in your car for you to use whenever you leave. These things can help you feel safe and are really easy so you don't get fatigued by it. When it comes to social distancing, it can be hard, but a good rule of thumb is to remind yourself that just as much about the people around you is about you. Whether you're wearing a mask, keeping at least 6 feet apart from each other, or choosing to stay home rather than attend a crowded gathering. It's something bigger than protecting yourself. Gentle reminders to those around you. Of course, besides recognizing those own slip-ups, there are constructive ways to help encourage friends and family that may be experiencing the same caution fatigue. It's good to be able to gently point out that people are not following the same measures that they've done in the past and remind them of why. It is best on a personal level, a reminder that you care for them as much as you care yourself. Using personal stories, maybe about something you know, can bring discussion to the personal level and better communicate yourself. And we will stop it here. So, Rakeem, what's your observation regarding the topic?
Well, my observation is that I think it's very interesting, and because I understand that a lot of people are getting tired of wearing masks and wearing gloves and using hand sanitizer, but I'd rather be tired of that because I don't want to be contract COVID and find myself in a possible situation where I'm no longer here. Then I won't have to worry about any of those issues anymore, but I'll have a bigger problem on my hands after that. So for a lot of people that said that they're fatigued, in my personal opinion, really go to show the mental stability of a lot of society, because in situations like this where it's a life or death situation or it's something that you can be critically ill, um, I think that, I'm willing to take necessary precautions. I don't care if I have to do it for years on end to to make sure that I'm in a predicament where I'm not sick. So I understand that a lot of people are tired, and don't get me wrong, it can be irritating, but what's more irritating than this is something that, could be a situation where your family is burying you, and that's my pet peeve. That's one of my biggest pet peeves, so I don't want that to happen.
That is very true. Um, and the fact of the matter is, what we need to do is we need to we we think this C-19 thing. Um, yes, it's a serious disease, but unfortunately, you have two extremes. You have the extreme of people who don't think it exists, so therefore they're not doing anything at all. And then you have people who are actually fearful to leave their apartments. Now, one thing we need to be mindful of, that 99% of those who are infected by C-19, other than getting some uncomfortable symptoms, um, that's the only issue that they have. It's the 1% that that people need to be fearful for, and these are people who have uh, conditions such as diabetes, morbid obesity, cancer. Their immune systems are weakened. So, what's your observation on that?
I understand a lot of people thinking it's not real based off of the history of the
So what's your
government
observation on that?
and the lies that the government has told
I
us.
understand a lot of people thinking it's not. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Okay.
I can get that, but how much more proof do you need? Because people have been dying left and right. At first, like the tragedies that happened in Italy, where doctors and nurses was emotionally breaking down because they could not take the amount of death that they were seeing because of the victims of COVID-19. People dying all over the world. The amount of deaths here in the United States. That's all of the info I need, and because what else do we have to go off of? I mean, we can sit here and say that it's not true, but these people are randomly passing away from something. And me, myself personally, I've caught where I was not able to join some of your lives because I caught COVID. And once I caught it, it was the worst thing that I've ever felt. Like I could barely move. My bones were shaking. I was constantly spitting up mucus every hour. I couldn't sleep properly because the mucus that was pressed against my chest.
Mhm.
Um, I could barely eat anything because it hurt to swallow. Um, it was the worst feeling in the world. It was the worst. It was the worst feeling in the world. And me, I'm older, but I'm still a relatively young man. So if it breaks me down, you can only imagine what it does to the immune system of someone that already has health issues that's a little older. And with you and I being from the north, Jose, you combine that with the cold, and you have a disaster on your hands.
Well, first of all, I just want to acknowledge MK that's in the chat. I know that you're very busy. I'm just appreciate you making your presence felt. Um, the fact of the matter is, I got COVID 2 years ago, and I didn't know I had it. And our friend Denise got COVID not just once but twice. Also, Melanated Knight got COVID. So, but the fact of the matter is, um, it's very uncomfortable, and I would not wish it on anybody. But what we need to do, we need to put everything in its proper perspective. Okay, there are things that we can do uh, to try to improve our immunity, and we need to focus. We need to change the focus somewhat. Okay, meaning okay. Um, it's uncomfortable wearing masks. Okay, now I don't know what's the situation in Chicago or in your community, but here in New York, a lot of the restrictions regarding some of the restrictions have been lifted. Meaning, you can go to a restaurant um, without showing proof that you're vaccination. Now, what the governor did was he left it to the discretion of the local municipalities as far as whether or not to wear masks and the COVID-19 mandates. However, we still have to, on all modes of public transportation, we must wear masks. Also, in hospitals, medical offices, and nursing homes, we must have some sort of face covering. And one of the negative consequences to COVID-19, nearly 1,500 municipal employees were terminated for refusal to get vaccinated.
Yeah, like what you were saying, Jose, in a lot of ways, with it being a northern city, Chicago is a lot similar to New York, and it was, it's mostly democratically ran, so it was the same exact thing. You had to show proof of, it was mandates. You had to show proof of vaccination before you entered restaurants. A lot of people that were not vaccinated, they decided to go over to Indiana and they took their business there because here in Chicago, Indiana is like our Jersey to New York. It's right over it's right over state lines, and they have a lot of eateries and um shopping centers and different things like that. And Indiana is pretty much a Republican state, so you don't even have to wear a mask going into a lot of these places. You don't have to wear a mask. You don't have to show any proof of vaccination or anything. So what a lot of Chicagoans did was just take their, if they didn't feel like they wanted to be vaccinated, or they didn't want to they didn't want to deal with that, they just went over across state lines into Indiana and decided to eat, shop, and buy things over there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's uh you know the one thing that it would have helped if we had just had one reasonable set of policies instead of 50 crazy helter-skelter policies. Because when things like this happen, it's going to lead to situations where people are going to go to Republican states where the mandates are not as enforced. And because, let's be honest, people are sick and tired of wearing these masks. People are tired of social distancing. People are tired of not being able to eat out. And actually, these topics were discussed last month when we had a discussion whether or not the pandemic was over. And I'm not going to lie, when Denise made that statement that the pandemic was over, it's like, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. But in preparing for that stream, I did do a lot of research, and I did discover that 99% of the people who got infected, they don't have any serious side effects other than, they have stuffy noses, they lost their sense of taste and things like that. They're not hospitalized. So what's your take on that?
Can you repeat that last part again?
I said that most of the people infected with COVID-19, they were not hospitalized.
Hmm. Those was mostly, I think those were the ones, because we know everyone's immune system is different.
That's
So
true.
those were the people that had it and didn't know they had it. But that's even more dangerous due to the fact that you can spread that to people who may not be as lucky. You know, I remember it was at one point these little ignorant kids deciding to, go to underground house parties here in Chicago called COVID parties,
Oh yeah.
where and they were coming back, and one kid came back and gave it to his mother and his grandmother, and his grandmother ended up passing away from it. And it's no coming back from that.
No.
The sheer ignorance is no coming back from that. And for the ones that maybe, that's why it's important. I understand it could be annoying, even if you didn't want the vaccine. I get that part, but not wearing a mask and not wearing hand sanitizer and keeping your distance. This is a life or death situation. But but it goes to show you the selfishness of people, because if people feel that they're going to be okay, then they rather risk everyone else's well-being. And I'm not with that. I don't approve of that, and I don't agree with that.
Well, unfortunately, what this health crisis has produced, let me just let someone else in. Good evening.
Good evening, Don Jose. ¿Cómo está?
My boy
Yeah,
Ramon,
how you doing tonight?
Madud Rakim. Really quick, to give you a shout out. I saw you on the other line that you were at, and you were holding your own. I mean, that was kind of like a bit of a arguing back and forth and all of that. But I have to say, you were holding your own. You have.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. And of course, like with me, Ramon, is no prejudice bone in my body. It's nothing like that. But I've just noticed the dynamic on what's going on different streams, and after a while, it gets annoying. Like, for instance, certain other YouTubers, I don't agree with what they're with everything that they say, but I've noticed sometimes it is pushback because of what goes on certain streams. But that's neither here nor there. And we'll speak about that privately, but we're going to be here to support my YouTube dad Jose and support the topic.
This is our uncle here, Tio Jose.
Let me, I was on another stream, and it's like one person was trying to roast me alive.
But was it directly or in the comments or something?
No, it was directed at me.
Okay. Yeah, but because in certain other lives, I'm not blaming the host of the platform, but there are always certain elements that come up in the chats and they start saying things, trying to take personal shots at homonyms, that type of thing. I mean, these are the same people that wouldn't come up on the stream itself, join the panel, and actually contribute something positive to it. So they mean nothing. They're not worth
Yeah,
it.
I mean, and that's the thing too. What you were just saying, Ramon. You can tell. You know what? I didn't really understand what an incel was until I really got on the internet, and I see, like, a lot of these people, some of these guys, they've never even been with women before. So
we can tell that they don't know how to interact with a woman. That's why they get on female YouTuber friends of ours. I don't want to mention their names, but you know who I'm talking about. That they're their fans, but at the same time, because they can't express how much of a fan they are, they have to talk shit about them. Hey, Denise.
Excuse me, Denise. If you're able to join, the link is there. It's not. I know you're busy, so it's good to see you in the chat.
Hey, chica. All right.
Shout out to my sis Denise.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, look. But as soon as I popped onto the stream, it's like, block me, block me, block me. It's like,
talking about that they needed to block you.
Yes.
But what do you do? Well, why?
Okay. I'm going to talk about it in the backstage.
Oh, okay. Then we can get back to the subject. Yeah, we can get back to the subject. I know. Okay.
Yeah. So the topic for tonight is how to prevent caution fatigue.
Yes.
So I'm getting ready to share an article. So just give me a moment because I'm still learning how to do this.
Yeah. I mean, I need to get the kind of like the functions of the StreamYard down if I were to host another live stream, because I'm not very good at it either. I mean, I'm so focused on other things that are more important. But yeah, and anytime, we'll wait.
So just one moment. Okay. Now this okay. Let me just see. It's a little dated, but a lot of the information on it, the name of the article is dealing with coronavirus burnout and pandemic fatigue. So.
Yeah, it's just in 2020 that when it was really going on.
But the fact that what the article talks about, how we've been dealing with this situation where we have to have some sort of a face covering. We have to observe social distancing. We must wash our hands thoroughly for 20 seconds. We must use hand sanitizer. We've been doing this for almost 2 years. And now people are getting tired because let's face it, half the time people cannot understand me when I talk because I'm wearing a mask.
Yeah.
And then, do you know how much sanitizer I've been putting in my hands in almost 2 years?
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, at least a gallon. And this whole, not be able to meet with others and just, just to go back, the desire to go back to normal. In other words, the conditions prior to March of 2020. Okay. Now, one thing I neglected to add, and this is what I was told by Clara, that they removed the restrictions in the DR.
Okay. Well, I do remember that they removed restrictions to enter in the country because I was there last summer, and to travel in there, nothing was required of me, but I did have to get kind of like a test negative a couple of days before I was leaving, because that was a requirement for me to be able to leave the country.
Yeah. Okay. So there's some tips that we can do to avoid burnout. Make the commitment to make it a habit, which is of course wearing the face mask, washing our hands. But to be perfectly honest, washing our hands, that should have been something we should have been doing.
Yeah.
Me personally,
I didn't have to change much. I didn't have to change much when it comes to that. I mean, keeping it hygienic. All of us have to use the restroom at some point. Of course, we won't have to keep our hands clean, especially because of that. I mean, at some point, all of us have to use the restroom. Of course, you're supposed to wash your hands, but unfortunately, we all have seen it when we are when we are using a restroom. But there are people that do what they have to do, finish up,
and
Flush.
walk right past the sink. Walk
Yes.
right past the sink.
No,
Like, what the hell? We all have seen that.
if they remember the flush.
Yeah, if they remember to even flush.
I
But
mean,
the
I mean,
people like
let's
that
keep
are
it
nasty.
real.
That's so nasty, and we all have seen them. They do
Yep,
what they do
walk right past the sink.
right
I
out.
was just like, wow, bro, really?
And you're washing your hands, and you see them in the reflection in the mirror. Like, what the hell? And then you remember that they just touch the door handle, and then you take extra precaution not to touch the door handle with your bare hand or anything like that, because somebody is but there are people that are like that. There are people that are like
Hey,
Hey
that,
guys,
and
the funniest thing I seen was when I went to one restaurant, and of course, you know they always have the sign in the restroom saying all employees must wash their hands. Somebody
yes,
scratched out the employees part, and underneath it wrote everybody.
yes, yes. Good job. Whoever did that, good job, because it applies to everyone. But yeah, there are people that are
Okay.
just dirty like that.
But let's go back to this article. Number 2, stay flexible. It's tempting to throw your hands in the air in expiration and give up when you hear conflicting information. No kidding. New scientific insights and facts continue to emerge about the virus that causes COVID-19 to change experts' recommendations daily. Really?
Yeah.
Oh boy! Don't you know? I can talk for hours just on that alone. But another thing we need to do is take a break from the news and social media.
Taking a break from
The
news and
news and social media.
well, no, of course, we need to take a break from that, because it can drive us crazy. Even
Yes.
if it's not about, if they're not talking about COVID and really important stuff, sometimes no, you do need to put the device, the smartphone down, and not look at anything on like Twitter or something like that, because it can drive you crazy. I mean, we get saturated. We got
Well,
saturated with a lot of the BS
Yeah,
that is
definitely.
on social media, and yeah, you do need to put it down.
And you know what? That'll be a good topic for you, Jose, is the social media cause depression, because in a lot of cases social media does, like, because just think when we were, when we all were coming up, it was just the news. And sometimes you would have to watch the news depend on if every time you look on there it's crime or it's
Yeah,
something negative. And social media is the news times 10 raw and unedited. So you definitely have to pay close attention to what you watch, because like my boy Ramon told me one time, it's a such thing as hate watching, and I have hate watched certain things to the point that will consume your mind and have you feeling a certain way, and that can be very unhealthy.
yeah,
yeah.
that's true. But okay, now I'm gonna read it kind of, but not verbatim because it was dated 2020. Don't expect a magic wand. In other words, uh, don't come to the conclusion that this crisis is going to end on X date, because really, we don't know. Okay. Now, the next thing to do is exercise. And it could be anything. If it's just simply walking a few blocks a day or doing some, um,
Yeah, any physical activity.
exercises, something. Okay. Like, for example, in my case, I try to walk every day.
Yeah.
Even if it's just 5-10 blocks, at least I'm walking. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Which brings up to the next thing, talk it out. Meaning talk it out with a friend or a professional like a therapist. Think positivity. Okay. It may sound flippant, but even just forcing yourself to think positivity can help. Rather than focusing on doom and gloom, try to remind yourself that you're doing the best you can, given the circumstances. We can't change the situation, but by adjusting your thinking, could alleviate some of the stress. In other words, get rid of what I call stinking thinking. Okay. The next thing, try mindfulness and gratitude. It's become popular recently as well as a way to help manage stress by improve the overall well-being. There's a wealth of research that confirms that effectiveness. Psychologists have found out that mindfulness meditation changes your brain and biology positively, improving mental and physical health. And then I think the last one is be compassionate to yourself. It's not easy, but you need to give yourself a break. Um, Now, I think in one stream, I'm going to park us here, when talking about depression, during how to fight depression during the holidays, you should treat yourself to something, even if it's just a latte from Starbucks. So, what you guys think?
I don't think it's anything wrong with that. Also, even if it's I would say to deal with the situation, especially with COVID, I say go to the parks too. Go sit and see, get some fresh air, you know, take a walk. Me personally, like I like even though the whole COVID thing was going on, I would love to go. I'll go play basketball. We had right off on Lakeshore Drive. Go to the basketball courts. You can sit down, watch the lake, take a little stroll through the area while looking at the lake and everything, and it was pretty cool. You have to find innovative ways to um, pretty much try to cure the anxiety from dealing with COVID. But really, too, it's like in a lot of cases before COVID, a lot of people were distancing themselves based off of, I don't know, social media and things. I could be wrong, but that's from what I've seen. A lot of people, ever since social media has become a big thing, more people are distant. But COVID really took the cake and created, what we're dealing with right now.
Okay. Ramon, what's your feedback on this topic?
Definitely, I will have to agree with what Rakim was saying, because exercising, you get some of that dopamine flowing through you, and it's most likely gonna better your mood, and getting the activity, which is something that I have to follow that advice because I haven't done that so much lately. This cold weather, I hate it, and it kind of got me indoors. But also going around the park. Well, where I live, it doesn't have like parks available like that, but still to be able to walk around and to able to get some physical activity, that's something that could be, that will be helpful. And that is this whole thing, that's one of the things that medical professionals uh, advice when it comes to, even though being in the middle of the pandemic, exercising, being in better physical shape, it will help you with being more resistant to it, being more resistant to getting the COVID, and because it has a tendency to affect more the one that is already more vulnerable when it comes to their health. So definitely get some physical activity and getting out there, uh, just to be able to see something else, to be able to get some fresh air, as Rakim was saying.
Yeah.
Also, something that I also will have to agree with Rakim is what he was saying about social media. The whole distancing thing was happening, absolutely. Absolutely. It wasn't just because of the pandemic. The social media was already getting people kind of like uh, getting people away from each other, and the pandemic compounded the problem because it is becoming a problem. I mean, it's not natural. It's just not natural for us to be away from each other, for us to trying to have a social life via the smartphone, via the device. Through human history, people have gotten around each other for socializing, have had to see each other. Not that long ago, even when I was younger, because I didn't have a computer, we didn't have the devices that we have now. We had the phone, but that was it. You could hear the other person's
Yeah,
voice, but you couldn't
yeah,
see them. You
and
still you still will use the phone so you can meet them in person. So that's kind of
and
how I.
and and you're absolutely right, Ramon, because I wanted to say my generation was the last generation of kids before the internet got really big because people forget 2003, 2004, 2005, 2006 the internet was not that big. It was
Yeah.
2006 was the beginning of MySpace. 2007 that's really when Facebook started becoming popular.
Yeah, I
And
think that
then
Twitter was already, that's when it started. Twitter,
yep,
I think it was
yep,
in 2006 and 7. Facebook was in like 2005 or
yeah.
4, according to the movie.
Yeah,
Uh,
it was around, but it wasn't popular at
Mhm.
that particular
also,
time.
also, also, YouTube. It was at around that same time. All of
Yep.
those things started at around that time.
Yes, it did. Yes, it
And
did.
before that, yeah, there was internet, but I was still using standard dialogue,
Yeah.
so there were limitations on what I could do with it, and it was for the I could barely play the earlier YouTube videos that were low quality. It was difficult to do that using standard dial-up because that's what I had
Yep.
available.
Yep. And I tell and it goes to show. I tell you guys because like at that particular time we still had to go outside. Like I was
Yes.
going to the gym with friends and I tell you, like, and this is something that a lot of these kids have not done, and it's something that I think that's going to get worse over time because the internet is so much popular now. But we decided, me and two of my friends decided when we first started talking to girls, we were just going to go to the mall. We was like, hey man, we're going to go to the mall and try to pick up girls.
Yeah.
And the way that we learned to talk to girls, and these girls looked at like, well, they wasn't as how perfect the Instagram models look, but they was something similar to Instagram models except in person.
Yeah.
And my friend, one of my friends, we was like, all right, man, you about to be up first and then I'm next. And I never forget our nervousness because we was like 15, 16, and one of my friends was like, I don't know about this, man. I was like, what, man, you scared of rejection? He's like, yeah. I was like, okay. But we started doing it and we got rejected numerous times. And we, it was some women we was able to further a friendship and a relationship with. And that's how we learn how to pick up women. A lot of these boys don't do that today.
No,
Yeah.
no, no. They're set up to be incels.
Hmm.
They're set up to be incels, and that's why you see them being kind of like something frustrated,
Hmm.
not knowing how to talk to women, and they come out all disrespectful because they don't know how to. I mean, they don't know. They don't have any game. I mean, and I use the term loosely, the term game loosely, because I don't believe in playing games with people.
No, no, I know what you're saying. They don't know how to really approach women. All
Right,
right.
right, right. I
Hmm.
mean, they just don't know. They just don't know. And the thing is that instead of kind of like asking questions, and they're very dismissive of people like us that are a little older, maybe we could
Yeah, you could
be
tell them.
of a little help, of a little assistance with that, because we come from a generation where we didn't have social media. We actually had to approach people and talk to
Yeah.
people directly.
And,
But they don't want to hear it. They don't want to
and-
hear it. They're just incels, and they are gonna stay that way. But
yeah.
But it worries me because incels can grow up really, really salty about the fact that they can't get women, and
Hmm.
those could be your mass shooters.
That's
And
true. That's very true.
and
Um,
that it could really go on a tangent, and it could end up in a tragic situation.
Yes, that's true.
okay. I'm going to share with you something that's on my Instagram account. Just bear with me for a moment.
Hmm.
Oops.
Yeah,
No, it's
it's
just, yeah, I'm just trying.
no, hit the icon at the bottom. Yeah, right there, where the TikTok sign is, because it's muted.
No,
The
no, it's just that, okay.
No, not there. Where the TikTok symbol is, you see a symbol of a speaker muted.
I know it's just that it's something. It's like it's It's like it's okay.
Because you have
Okay,
played that
okay,
before, and I have heard it before. I have heard it before.
okay. Let me just.
I know what you mean. Yeah, but you have to click on the symbol of the speaker because it was muted. So
Yeah.
If you're under 25
Okay, Liz.
and you use your cell phone a lot, I want you to do me a favor. For 2 hours a day, I want you to put your phone in your drawer. That way you remember how to hold a conversation. I cannot talk to someone under 25 without 2 minutes into the conversation, they pull that phone out and start hitting them buttons. Yeah. It's like watching a chimp peel a peanut at the zoo. They act like their phone's their personality, right? That's all they want to talk about is that phone. I always tell young guys, work on your car. Nobody ever got laid in the back of an iPhone.
But
that's
what really changed the game with social media was the money that was involved, because it gave you a motive to actually, for products and spreading, companies. You can build a company off of social media. You can sell products and different things like that. If it's made a lot of people famous, so it's only reinforced for people. It's no different from when we was growing up, and some people can say, oh, I can be an athlete, I can play basketball or baseball, or I can play football, or I can be an entertainer. What a lot of people don't realize is that even with social media, just like the real world, only so many people are going to be able to do that. Not everyone's going to be able to you know pretty much monopolize that situation with finances. And another thing is that, like, it's crazy because I guess a lot of people love social media to the point where they can create their own world, because the real world is too difficult to deal with. It's too difficult to
yeah.
build yourself up in the real world than what it is, especially for a man, a young man, that is. Just like we were saying, Ramon, about incels, we have femcells too, and the vitriol, that they spew online when they can just go to the gym and work on themselves. It's like people feel that it's too hard to compete in the real world, so they rather immerse themselves into social media. And I love social media. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't have never met you guys if it wasn't for social media. But I'm able to differentiate between the two. And it's gotten to the point that a lot of people even forget about their own families. Like, they don't check on their families, like the gentleman said that Jose showed the Instagram with, it's bad when you got old school parents, just like, if everybody sits at this table, you better put that phone up.
Yeah.
And that's what you see happening now, because people are so dependent. And now, is even with navigation, we use GPS on our phone. If any of these young kids get lost, they won't know how to use a map. They won't even have a map if, God forbid, something happens to their phone.
No, I'll do one even better. What if they go in an area where there's no Wi-Fi?
Oh, Oh, they'll freeze. Their brains will freeze along
Yeah.
with the device.
What brains?
I mean, oh, I can only imagine. I can only imagine.
You know something? I just got a brilliant idea. Now, next week's stream was supposed to be office romances, pluses or negatives. I think I'm going to change it. Is are we addicted to social media?
Yes.
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 And
Is water wet?
yeah. And what you were
It,
saying
or do I like cool?
and
Yes.
what
You like cold. You like polar cold.
Oh, come on now. Right now it's 33 degrees in New York, so it's autumn.
That's almost freezing temperature, Don Jose.
No,
Come on now.
not for me.
Yeah. Well. Okay. You can keep the cold. I don't want it.
Well, this has been another disappointing winter, which has been virtually non-existent.
Oh, it's been brutal here. It's been brutal here.
So are you
I
so are
tell
you
you,
saying it's been a little chilly over there?
oh, it's been way chilly. Well, another thing I've been
Chicago.
going. Yeah, it's been rough. I've been going, guys. I've been going up to like, and that was another reason why I couldn't join some of the streams because I've been working so much. I've been going up to Minneapolis, and I've never been to Minneapolis, and I didn't know that it got that cold there. And someone told me, you thought Chicago was bad. You don't know nothing yet until you start taking trips up there. And I had to go drop loads off, and it was negative 17.
Oh.
It was
Oh.
negative 17.
Oh, you lucky dog, you!
Yeah,
Oh.
it was negative 17, and it was a guy. And before I went up there, I ran into another guy in Toma, Wisconsin, and he was telling them not to send him to Chicago, and he was just like, "Please, man, whatever you do, don't send me in the low to Chicago, please." And it was like, "I got you, boss. We're gonna send you to Minneapolis." He was like, "That's even worse."
Wow.
And it turned out it was worse. I was having such a hard time dropping that trailer.
Oh.
It was freezing. It was freezing. It was freezing.
Sure.
I saw
So-
people broke down on the road. It was messed up.
So you actually experience winter over there.
Oh yeah, it gets free. And then another thing, I was actually with another lady who they asked me to do team driving with, and she wanted to take this load to Detroit. I said we shouldn't, but she decided that she wanted to, and I couldn't, not say no, I'm not going because I had no choice. We went to Detroit and we made our way back to Chicago, but it was a blizzard. It was pretty much a blizzard. And the scariest thing that I've dealt with was it was a guy, you know about muscle cars and everything, Ramon. So like a Dodge Charger and a Challenger is not meant to be driven in snow.
No,
It's
no. You can get launched off the road real quick because those are muscle cars, and the driver could be tempted to press down on the gas pedal. For the speed experience, but you don't do that when with an icy road because it's not gonna end well.
Yeah, and that was the scariest thing that I've dealt with. I've been driving, for 2 years, and that's the scariest thing that I dealt with because she was driving back, and I was, kind of like, sleep a little, but I woke up when I heard her screaming because the guy spent off in front of us. He was in the Dodge Charger. He spent off in front of us, and it looked like his car was ice skating. And when with us being in the semi, you can see down, and he just had a look on his face like, "Damn, this is it. I'm about to die by a semi." And she got to screaming, and I literally closed my eyes with my mouth open. But thank God he spent into the next lane, and he was able to regain control.
Oh.
And I was just like, you see why we shouldn't have took this?
Yeah, because it can get, I know, it can get rather, it can get tempting, and it can get real scary. I mean,
yeah, that was the scariest thing because I thought we wasn't. I thought we was going to hit him because if he had not spent the round, we couldn't avoid him because the semis don't stop like cars, and then
No.
definitely not on snow. So the brakes would have locked up, and we would have spun out of control too, and still hit him. So
Yeah.
that was The winters was pretty rough here, Jose.
Okay, well, you know me. For me, winter begins when it actually gets down below zero.
That's Arctic.
No,
Mhm.
Arctic. Okay, Arctic. That's when it's like 20 below.
Jose, you want polar bears to be roaming around.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So it was a little chilly up there.
A little
Oh
chill.
yeah, look.
A little chilly, really. Uh-huh.
And I know Ramon being an island guy, I know this cold, that cold. If you're not used to it, especially uh coming from the islands and going to Texas, and I think that was a very smart move because that's what Denise did. Denise said, if I'm going to go over on the mainland, I'm going to go to an area where it's warm. And she went
Yeah.
to LA. You went to Texas, and I know a lot of people. Oh, and I know a lot of people that if they wasn't going back to the island, leaving Chicago, they're moving to Florida or Texas
Yeah.
right now as we speak.
Hmm.
Yeah. No, I mean, at least what is more likely to be warm, even though recently my sister and my brother-in-law they live in the Orlando area, and when I had to visit them, I had to make a stop with them because we were dealing with our mom, and but it was like in the 30s, in the 19 in the 1930s, the 30 in the 30
Yep,
degree.
30-degree weather. Yep.
And I remember because I have been to Orlando before in December, and it will still be fairly warm. But
Yeah.
for some reason, now that I went, it was still January. It was later in January, and it was actually fairly cold. It was like in the low 30s, and that was too much for me. And my mom hated it because she hates the cold.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that's something that we were dealing with. Yeah.
Yeah. Most people that come from the island, that's like even my grandmother's friend, Miss Rosa, and her sister Miss Carmen, they came from the islands. And
Yeah.
I remember I would speak to them. They told me when they first arrived in Chicago because they arrived as kids with their parents. They were just like they couldn't believe how cold it was. They arrived in December, and they were just like they couldn't believe how freezing it was because that was something that they was not used to, and they said they hated it and they was ready to go back, but they dad was explaining that they couldn't go back, that they was trying to make a living here, and but they eventually end up going back, and I believe Miss Rosa is still here in Chicago, but
Mhm.
Miss Carmen stays on the island. They were from Bayamon, so she stays back in Bayamon.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Now, the things that have to do with with the cold to island that is a novelty. And one example that I can actually give you, if I can share my screen, let me see if I can do that.
Sure. Let me know when you and I'll.
Let me see.
But you know me. I say this. Don't think of it as cold. Think of it as the absence of warmth.
That's the accent stuff. What?
Warmth.
Oh, okay. Let me see. Mm, Let me see if I can. Let me see if I can.
Okay, I see it now.
Okay, do you see? Do you see? It's on Instagram, and it's promoting some activity in a town in the countryside where apparently it's gonna be chilly in the next few days.
Oh wow.
You see, it's an event on the from the
25,
25th,
yeah.
from the 25th to the 27th in a place called Adjuntas. That's one of the small towns that are in the countryside.
Hmm.
But in this particular place, apparently it gets cold enough that you can actually see people's breath. That's becoming a thing on the island.
Oh wow.
Yeah, this is becoming a thing. That wasn't a thing.
Oh, goody!
No,
No, no.
no, no, no. Two things that are becoming more and more of a thing in Puerto Rico, and it's both lower temperatures that can lead to conditions like this, where it's kind of like a novelty
Uh-huh.
when it gets chilly like that. Also, temperatures going at over 100 degrees on the coast. That wasn't a thing. The most that it could get when it comes to temperatures in the middle of the summer, it will be kind of like in the high 90s, 97 degrees, 98 degrees. That was more of a thing. It was considered to be really hot. But now, over 100 degrees is becoming common. It's becoming rather common, and it worries me because it's kind of starting to match some of the summer temperatures here in the United States. It's unfortunate.
Could
Yeah,
you imagine?
definitely.
Could you imagine if I can control the weather over there in Puerto Rico?
No, 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 no.
Jose, if you can control the weather, you'll have this world like the day after tomorrow.
Oh, no, 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 no.
You
No,
guys remember that movie, The Day
it
After
will
Tomorrow?
I will be living with bronchitis all the time.
No. I'll be a generous dictator.
As if that, as if that is such a thing. Yeah. A benevolent dictator? Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Well, I got
one day out of the year, I'll let it reach 81 degrees,
Uh-huh.
and then it will get no higher than 80 degrees, and it will get no colder than 20 below.
Hey, what do you mean 20 below? Whoa. You mean like 50?
Nah.
Less than 50 degrees? No. 20 below. What the hell?
um I gotta ask you guys, do you think global warming may have something to do with this? Where
There are people that deny the whole climate change thing.
yeah.
No, I wouldn't be dismissive of it. Global warming, there are people that still don't believe that there is such a thing as global warming, but it could come to a point where kind of that ice, the polar caps, could melt. If that melts, the sea levels may rise, and
Yeah.
that could be a problem. It could mean
Yeah.
floodings at least of coastal cities. It could mean some serious flooding, and kind of like the coasts are gonna get redrawn on the maps, and they're gonna be continents are gonna be
Wait a minute. I
smaller.
think Denise has going to chime in.
Denise says a lot of it is a hoax.
Uh,
Well, that's what a
you know
lot of
what?
people say.
I wish she can elaborate a little bit on that.
I wouldn't be too dismissive of climate change. I don't know about global warming. I can't say much about that.
Hmm.
But when it comes to climate change, I wouldn't be too dismissive of it, because there are things that are changing on
Yeah,
us.
because like when you talk about uh being being free, like I mean when you're talking about it's freezing on the island, and then when you
Yeah.
look at Florida, I don't know too much about geography, but I
Okay.
will say that it seems like Florida was supposed to be part of the Caribbean, or like that was like that piece of land, like when the whole world was one big landmass. that
Yeah.
that part of Florida was supposed to be out in the Caribbean with the rest of the islands because
Ah,
it got the same similar feel, palm trees and everything. When it starts getting cold down there in Florida, and when it starts, the freezing temperatures that you guys dealt with in Texas, Ramon,
yeah.
um, that's like I don't know that seems like that seems like it has something to do with climate change to me. Now I don't know anything about climate change either, but it seems like that to me.
Well,
Yeah,
let me,
I'd say that we shouldn't be too dismissive of it. I mean, I get what Denise was saying.
okay.
Okay, it may have been happening for thousands of years. I'm talking about the now. I'm talking about the now. Those little differences that we can perceive ourselves. Yeah.
Now, here she wrote down, if we are serious about climate change, we need to regulate the CO2 in agriculture, where it accounts for 25% of the warming of the earth in the last years.
Mhm.
I wonder how will we go about doing that?
Well, something that will help is not to keep cutting down the different forests, because that's what changes the kind of like the CO2 back into a breathable oxygen.
Okay, let's see what's
But maybe Denise may have a point because think about the ice age and different things like that, and the way the climate had changed, and
Mhm.
it could be a possibility, but we don't know. But like in our lifetime, it seems like things are drastically changing because there's been times here in Chicago where it's been warm for winter, like 40 degrees, 30 degrees. We didn't really get snow at one point.
Yeah.
I would just like to ask her, okay, let's just see.
Hold on, fellas. I'll be back. I'll be back in a few
Okay.
minutes.
Yeah.
We must focus more on earth warming rather than cooling measures that could be acquired. I'd just like to know what sources can we look at to verify this information. If Denise can put it in the chat, I really would appreciate it. So maybe that explains why we haven't had a decent winter in New York in years.
Well, before last year, it was actually nice here in Texas, even during the winter, because we weren't having these crazy low temperatures. That was until last year. That's when we had that vortex, that polar vortex coming all the way down here, and we were having. Before that, we will have some snow, but it will be kind of like later in November, and that will be all. But this time we did have some snow just a few days ago,
Okay.
just a couple of weeks back. So
Okay, now she mentioned something about how our government wants to change the electric cars by 2030, and then also due to overpopulation. Hmm.
I don't know, because populations around the world are actually somewhat declining, because in many parts of the world, people are not having that many babies. I'm not talking about the African continent. I understand that in the African continent they have a lot of kids there, but in other parts of the world, in many of the European countries, populations are declining. In many kind of like the northern European countries, the populations are declining. Where we know what's happening in Asian countries, that the populations are declining. Even in China, I mean, they had to change policy when it comes to how many babies a couple could have, because they're facing decline.
Okay, it's another comment. There are more people in the planet than we can feed. Agriculture makes about a lot of CO2 emissions, and we keep
I get it. I get it. I get it. But still, there are population declines in different parts of the world that are being projected already.
Well, in my preparation for the last stream that we did in Spanish, we ran across a couple articles where the population in the Latino community is increasing steadily.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So okay, this is what I think. I think in certain areas, excuse me, in certain areas, there is an uptick in the population, and in others, there's a decline. But the fact of the matter is, oh, wait a minute, now here's another one. IDC, if this happened in Russia, we will share the same planet and humanity will reach an unprecedented number. 8 billion people is a lot. Okay. You know what? Maybe that might be something, a topic, I don't know, if she might want to pursue whenever she does do a stream, because I know she's been very busy.
Mm-hmm.
So
when it comes to the to what you were saying, when it comes to the subject, no, I get it. I get what I get what you're saying. There are certain technologies that will have to adapt when it comes to energy availability. The options are out there, but unfortunately, there is also this whole thing with the oil companies being able to have politicians in their pockets, so to keep them in business and not allowing these alternatives that have been around for a long time to be able to be implemented.
Okay, here's another message. Oops, there's two more. We need to assess proper crop growing before we can even grasp a chance of achieving earth cooling. And then, which is what we need. Yeah, sounds logical.
Yeah.
So at this point, I'm going to begin wrapping up because I did do another stream. It was more like a monologue for about 40 minutes, and then Ken called me. He wanted to get on the panel, so I didn't. So it's kind of like a part one, part two at the same night. Ramon, do you have any final thoughts in regards to the topic?
Yeah. Well, even though the article that you presented was from 2020, when it was really affecting us, the whole thing with the pandemic, a lot of what it says is still applicable, even though that is not to the level of the state of the emergency as it was back then, and a lot of the restrictions have been little by little been relaxed, which is fine. I mean, it's not that it's not going to completely go away anytime soon. I still believe that there are certain controls, certain precautions that one could take. But I will admit there are certain times when I just don't feel like wearing a mask. I do have to keep it on at work all the time, and when I leave work and I have to do something else, run an errand or something like that, I just don't bother with the mask because I'm tired. I'm just like I don't want to wear it and see all kinds of other people wearing their mask, and I don't feel like wearing it because I have been already wearing a mask for the last 10 hours, and it gets very tiresome. But still, I do believe that there should be certain precautions, and I know that there are people that still having their issues when it comes to the whole vaccine. I had my issues too. I told you already about that, how I didn't want to take it. I ended up taking it for a reason, but still, kind of like let's not give the situation a power to get us all fatigued, tired of it, and that we completely ignore any type of precautions, like minimal precautions at least, but kind of like being able to do it in the most relaxed way possible.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for joining the panel. Now, I did put back the link is on again. So Denise, if you wish to join in the backstage, fine. If not, that's fine. Also, Joaquin, the link is there as well if you want to join us in the backstage. So what I'm going to do, Ramon, first of all, thank you for joining me. And just to let you know that I have another interview scheduled for Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to be interviewing Denise.
Yes. That will be a good chat that you can have. I'm looking forward to it. I'll tune in. Yes.
Yeah. What I'll do is tomorrow, I will email her the questions to her so that way she knows what I'm going to be asking. So therefore, there will be no surprises and whatnot. Even though it's not going to be like a gotcha moment. It's just going to be some questions, regarding herself and her, things of that nature. So thank you very much, Ramon, for joining us. So I'm going to put you in the backstage.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, one moment. I just want to put you in the backstage. Now, I'm going to give you my final thoughts. The reality is this. I know that this stream was not well watched because there was another stream that's going on. That's the nature of YouTube. I know that more people are going to catch it on the playback, which is just fine with me. I appreciate the fact that I got new subscribers tonight. And I just want to say thank you for all those who have seen fit to subscribe to my channel. I'm going to ask if those who have not done so to please subscribe, like, hit the bell notification to all. So therefore, whenever I do produce content, you will be notified. Now, as I indicated, this week, Wednesday, I will be interviewing Denise Gonzalez on this platform. So I'm going to ask that if anybody wish to have any questions, they may do so. Please be respectful, and please, anybody that tries to put any Russian characters on the chat, they will be immediately blocked. 2 people found that out tonight because I am trying to provide a healthy and safe environment for everyone to express their views. Even when we disagree, we can be agreeable when we disagree. On Thursday, of course, I'll have another short video regarding news and articles or whatnot. Now, I'm going to do another stream on Sunday, but it's going to be a change. Originally, I was going to do the stream regarding office romances. Are they a plus or a minus? So instead, what I'm going to be doing is I'll be talking about the topic, are we addicted to social media? It's going to be an interesting discussion. Everyone will be having an opportunity to share their viewpoint. Again, anyone that wish to join us in the backstage, the link is there. Otherwise, I hope I will see you whenever I go live. This has been another live stream about Common Sense with Jose Negron, and I'm going to leave you with these words. Do not let the errors of the past damage your future. And we must do everything possible to minimize our contact with the mentally and intellectually challenged, because if we fail to do so, we will be infected by their stupidity and massive insanity. That being said, this has been another episode of Uncommon Sense with Jose Negron, wishing everyone good night and peace.
Be strong.